Alrighty, we are back with the video that I promised. This is going to be marble versus calico. Kind of how do they work? How do we apply them to projects? Which one do I think is more long-term better based off my personal opinion? So off the bat, marble's found. A marble's a dominant, which if you haven't seen my other video, pop over and see how dominant gene works. But marble is found on fenestratus. This is basically pure fin marble. Convict, calico convict. You can see that the marble doesn't have really a structure to it, whereas the convict one does. So just pay attention to this structure because I think this is important to the long-term importance of calico versus convict. And then these are two Vieja hybrids, obviously produced by Mavi. And I might have said that wrong, which I do apologize to her if I did. But these are two very nice examples. These are a lot of elbow grease done to produce this, because pearling does not come out that well. We got some more calico convicts on this side. This would be like a normal. This would be a high white. So obviously there's almost no markings on here. But even then, it still tries to stick to that barring setup, which I think is important. This one, more barring. I enjoy the structure of this. So I enjoy these structures more than I enjoy the random, like this markings right here. I feel like this fish would just look better without the marble. This right here is 75% carpentis, 25% marble Vieja. And here's its sibling, also 25% or 75% carpentis, which carpentis looks like this. This fish is 75% this. So you can see that the marble gene is doing a lot of damage, because usually even in like a Vieja Texas cross, you're going to get heavy pearls. And if you were to take that F1 back to the Texas or the carpentis, you're going to get heavy pearls. So with how these pearl structures are working in these two, it's honestly really, really rough, which is kind of something I don't like about the marble, is how rough it does look with some mixes. Like in theory, this 75% should have nearly looked like this with some Vieja shapes with the white chunks. But in reality, you get this and this. I mean, not a fan of either of these. If I was to get to this point, I'd be like, okay, I have to take it back to Texas again in hopes that the gene isn't going to mess up the pearls at 87%. But, you know, you roll that dice. And we got some more calico convicts. Look how clean they are. Look how much better they look with the structures than the marbles. I mean, and then I like this. I think it's clean. And it's on convict, which I'm not a big... I used to love convicts. I had convicts. I've done polar blues. Don't really have a giant need for them anymore. But the way that the calico looks, I love calico. Love this. Love the striping. Even though this is a high white one, it's being affected skin color-wise. That's why it's coming out yellow. Which I'll go into more about the skins with the leucistic video, because that has a lot more to do about it. And then I have to do a video about the calico and the leucistic on convict, possibly being a lilac, which it'll be a fun video for that one. But love the striping on these. Then these ones right here, these three, are Parachromis fredigilla to a marbled hybrid, which these are in the United States. Which, what does a Fred look like? These are 50% this. The color that's on here, I don't think is being picked up by the video well, but I'm pretty sure the breeder told me that these were bright yellow, almost gold, which would make sense. I mean, Freddy's super clean. But obviously you see the high white, not a ton of structure to the white, it's just kind of random. Marble, right? And it's got the Parachromis shape to it pretty well. If I was going to do anything with the marble gene, it would be a dominantly Parachromis mix, because one, give me 1 second. I'm gonna kill you. Get away from that. Okay, we're back. So I'd stay away from heroic thighs. I don't like the way it looks with heroic thighs. But Jackson, it could be good with Deppy. Highly unlikely. These have a higher saturation in their pearls than Deppy do. And then here it has very low saturation. So I'm sure Deppy Marble would be. Cynogatus has smaller purling, so marbled Cynogatus. And I mean, I could do marbled Vieja. I don't feel a giant draw to it. I feel like both of these would look better without the marble. So what does that leave for marble for me if I was to work with marble? One, I would get one of these. And there are 3 routes I would go to it. I would go Parachromis, so it's very Parachromis heavy, like Jaguar. Copy image. And these are the 3 routes or the 3 options I would do. I'm going to do Jag, obviously, all day long, because what does Jag do? Jag is a powerhouse for pearls, and these do have the Parachromis genetics, so the baby would come out 75% Parachromis, while 50% Jaguar, 25% Freddy, 25% Vieja. As long as one parent has the marble, about 50% of the babies come out marble, right? Obviously, they'd be 75% Para, aka Parachromis, and 25% Vieja, with about 50% marbles. And genetically, it'd be 50% Jag. Let this not say Vieja. And then it would be 25% Freddy and 25% Vieja. Easy breakdown. And 75% Parachromis, I'd imagine the shape to. Obviously, this is being slightly influenced by the Vieja. I don't like that. But if you were to take it to Jag, I would imagine the Jag to take over the shape. So at least the F2 has an even thicker Parachromis shape to it. And then the Jaguar pearls are, in my opinion, more dominant than the Texas purling, so you have a higher chance for better pearls to pop up into that generation. And then if you say, hey, that didn't fix it, take it back to Jaguar again, you're going to get an even heavier Jaguar look. It'll be 87.5% Parachromis, 12.5% Vieja, 75% Jag, and 12.5% Fred. And I think that'd be a clean mix, which these ones are available in the US right now. Message Queen City Exotics or Zach Simpson, Brandon Scott. Those would be who I message. If I'm trying to get into marbles and I don't want to do all the legwork, get this, get a Jag. Now the other option for it is Cuban. Now why I haven't really talked about Cubans in ton because there is a good chunk of work that has to be done with them to make them viable. Because one, if you look at their relation to the rest of the Central American cichlids, they have been genetically isolated on Cuba for so long, right? So that's obviously going to have its impacts on fertility, which is kind of the issue with using Cuban. But marble, making white on a black cichlid, I think could be decent. And the issue is that F1 and F2 are more than likely going to have infertile males, and F1's going to look ugly. F2's going to start looking nice. If you breed to F3, that'll be where it gets clean. So what would that look like? You're breeding marble to Cuban. F1, you're going to get about F1. Okay, F1, you're going to get about 50% marbles. And they will be 50% Cuban, 25% Fred, 25% Vieja. Now, do I imagine this generation to be fertile or look decent? No. So I would take F1 marble X Cuban. That's going to give you your F2. Go ahead and select this section. I am not about to deal. I thought I went through, but I guess moving the table messed it up. So now you have your F1 to your Cuban, which is going to make your F2. F2, as long as your F1, you got the F1 marble, F2 is going to make 50% marbles. And they're going to be 75% Cuban, 12.5% Fred, and 12.5% Vieja. In this generation, I do not imagine the fertility issue to be fixed. So what I would do one more time is I would do F2 marble X Cuban, and that gives you, let's see, F3 87.5% Cuban, 6.25% Fred, and 6.25% Vieja. In this generation, I imagined you have a decent Cuban look with little to no issues at this point. You might have a couple issues, but this should be about where you get to where you want to be, right? You've got the heavy Cuban look, you've got the marble established, and you now have fertile males. To make this easier, this loop, do a male Cuban in this generation and this generation. If you start off right and you get a female off this and a male Cuban, you're set. You're set for success. If you get a male one of these and then do a female Cuban, get a male Cuban ASAP for F1, because F1 back cross the Cuban and F2 back cross the Cuban is going to have to be a male Cuban. I mean, if there's fertility issues with the males, you're going to have a male Cuban. And the nice thing about this looping is if, say, you start with a male Cuban, you have you get F1 6 to 8 months, 6 to 8 months, and then 6 to 8 months till this one breeds. So you're looking at about a year to a year and a half to get the first two generations up in breeding. And then within that, year, almost 2 year mark, you're going to hit this generation, which really not that much work. Now, the last one that I would suggest doing for marbled is going to be Salvini. And the reason I say Salvini isn't because of its shape, isn't because of whatever. It's actually because of its color. Marble does really well. Well, I shouldn't say marble. White and yellow do very well at enhancing each other. This is very white. This is some yellow. Salvini's a high yellow cichlid. Fredistilla and Salvini have been crossed in the past, and it produced a very high yellow fish. So by taking already marbled Fred, that's 50% Fred, to a Sal, you're going to get 50% Sal, 25% Fred, 25% Vieja. I wish I had an example of Vieja Sal because that was also a yellow fish. Basically, using Salvini as the base, you should be getting high yellow with the marble into a smaller package. This would basically be focused on the color and no purling. Now, you could use some Sal with some high purling, and you might get some. I'd be more focused on the yellow. And those are basically the only 3 marble projects that I think are highly worth doing because I think most Vieja projects will look better without the marble, and I don't like how Hericthi looks with the marble. So that's kind of my opinion on it. Um, I think these three are viable routes. And again, I'll drop these guys in the description or the comment section of my YouTube video. So look out for that. Now to look over at Calico, they are recessive, which means they're going to take more work. They're going to be longer. And the fact that they are on convict means that they're going to have a lot more elbow grease. But to go back to how this kind of looks, you can see the gray shows up and the banding, more banding, 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 little band, banding. It follows a structure. And you're like, well, convicts are banded. Yes, convicts are banded. Mayan cichlids are banded. Amps are banded. Jaguars are banded. Vieja are banded. And Hericthis are banded. No, they're not. Yeah, they are. Let me see. I should have a picture. Oh! Bands. So, obviously, when jaguars get bigger, their bands go away and they're more just purling. And they just have that, they still have that horizontal banding ingrained in their genetics, though. Band, band, almost no banding, but you could slightly see it still there. This is a young Cynogatus just because they're harder to see the bands as they get older. Sometimes the breeding dress brings it out, but they have the banding. And this is a Hartwig guy. Another Vieja has the banding. There's not Cutterai, Calico, which obviously has the banded structure. Now, the importance, in my opinion, to having a banded structure that is kind of working with this is that it means the marble's not going to be willy-nilly. It's not going to be random, right? I mean, it's going to be random, but it's not going to be blob random. It's going to be structured random. If that, let me try to, random. This is technically a marble. Random, 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 random. Not marble. And then just random, right? No structure to it. I like the Calicos because it follows the structure. Is it going to follow the structure in a hybrid? I can't say for sure because it's never been hybridized, really. I can't. Second, is it going to allow purling? I can't say for sure. It might hinder purling like the marble does. Is it going to let color through? There's a theory between me and Hugh that Hugh thinks that it's going to end up muting the color. I don't think it's going to end up muting the color. Otherwise, I wouldn't be such a fan of it. No, say it does. I think there's ways to work around that if the structure stays true. Because if the structure stays true, we could get these types of bands, these tiger stripes, these broken bands on fish like the jaguar, which I could only imagine. Say this jaguar right here had broken bands with little white slits coming through it. It would look fierce. It would look something unique, and it would be cool. Now, obviously, if you're going the marble route, it's going to have some white on it. It's going to be more blotchy, though. You're going to have these random blotches, possibly the back half of the fish all white, possibly the front half of the fish all white. This one should have it to where the middle section of the fish and maybe some of its face is high white with structured stripes through it, right? Because if you go to the high white ones up here, they still have the stripe on it, which if this was jaguar, it might be able to have the stripe with the jag pearls or the jag silver or the jag yellow, or if you have it like not this one, like this one, it could have the jaguar shape with the jag pearlin all right here and just white skin, right? I think that could be highly unique. The issue with this gene is the fact that it takes more work. There's a high unknown, more work. A lot of people are going to choose the easier route. I can do marble in 3 generations and get an 87.5% whatever I want, right? Okay, I understand. That makes sense. But if this one works out how I think it's going to work, where it's structured, I think this one's going to do better. I think it's going to be overall better, and it'll be a higher marketable because it takes more work to produce it. So when you produce a marble, somebody can't just, or when you produce a calico, you can't just breed it to something and get calicos in that first generation. You have to either breed it back to the parent or breed sibling to sibling and select those calicos. So with the nuance of that is that it makes the gene a little bit more valuable because it takes a little bit more work, right? And the biggest issue right now is not the fact that it's just recessive, but it is also on convict. So that's kind of an issue there. But let's go ahead and kind of write up a quick idea. Obviously, I think the Calico Jaguar would be amazing. I think it would. If it works the way I think it would be a stunning fish. So I'm going to probably write that one up because I think it has the best. If it does work that way, I think it would work really well into Carpentis. I think it could work really well into Yokai, maybe some flower horns lines, high pearled, high color lines like Diablo 75, Diablo Red Spot, stuff that has high coloration, I think would end up looking really cool with these barred stripes on it versus the blotch stripes on it, or the blotch patterns, I should say, because they're not even stripes. But how would we go about moving a calico gene off of a pure, I say pure because convicts are a mutt at this point. How do we move the calico gene off of a pure convict onto a high percent jaguar? What does that look like? What's the time frames? You know, and I don't think it's that really hard to look at if you're doing jag. And again, if you didn't watch the video, go back, watch the video. It breaks down on how the recessive trait passes on. But you do jaguar to convict, calico, you get 50-50, right? They're 50-50. Let me set up a rule real quick. This is going to be jag, and this is going to be con. Just so you guys know. So it goes 50-50, 100% het. And I'm going to show you three routes. Three routes that you can do this with three different type frames. One route is the secure route on where you're making sure every single generation you're resolidifying that and pulling out it, and then back crossing it, pulling out. One cross is going to be a little bit risky. It's going to need a little bit more space, and one cross is going to be you want as many calicos as possible, and you're going to take the long run. That's kind of so. This first one is going to be the clean linear route. So then you take your F1s to F1s because these are your F1s, right? If it'll let me up. F1. So now you do F1, X, F1, I about deleted that whole thing. I don't need to. And that makes your F2. Okay, F2. This is now still but now for the results, you have 25% calico, and you have 75% normal, 66% het. Right. So you're like, okay, well now I have a calico. What do I do with that? You're now going to take F2, calico, C for calico, X, jag. This is going to give you F3, right? Now F3 is 75% jag, 25% con, 100% het. Now you're going to want to repeat your loop again. So you do F3, X, F3. That gives you F4, which is 75, 25, and same results as these. Right? You're still getting 25% calicos. And you're going to want to end up doing this loop again. Yeah, F2, which would be F4 this time. F4 calico, which is now going to produce your F5, which is going to produce your 87.5 jag, 12.5 con. If you have been selectively choosing the best jag traits every single generation, this should look near pure jag at this point. So this again is going to produce the 100% het. You do F5, X, F5, and that produces your F6, which is the same percentage as this, which is the same results as these. It'll let me select them. Control C, Control V. Now, what does this allow? Now that you're at F6, and you're like, well, I officially have the Calico Jaguar, right? You do F6 to F6, right? F6 Calico to F6 Calico. It's going to give you F7. And they're going to be 100% Calico. You now just produce, if you waited for them to be a decent size, you just produce about 200 Calico fry that you can market all. And if you've been progressing through all of this, and about this generation should start getting hype, and then this generation should have the demand behind it to follow the supply, because you put so much effort in it, the Calico should be more expensive than a marble at the end of the day. Now you're like, well, Jackson, that's going to have inbreeding deficient because you're doing inbreeding and then you're doing another jag, probably the dad jag, and then you're doing more inbreeding. If you're really anal about it, the biggest generation that I would add new blood in is this generation. Now, if you're like, well, I don't feel right about it, add a new jag, and so use a jag here, add a different jag, add another jag. You're good. I promise you, you'll be fine. And then, well, you're like, well, I don't want to produce 100% calicos because I still want to selectively breed them. My F5 male was really nice, and I want to breed them to an F6 calico. Your F5 is 100% heterozygous, right? And you want to breed them to your F6. That is calico because you like her a lot, and you didn't see any males that you liked as much. And this will produce F7 again. This time, it'll produce 50% calicos and 50% normals, but they're 100% het calico. Not that hard of a loop. Now you're looking at about 6 months per generation, so 6, 12. Okay, let's just count the generations. 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously, there's 6 generations. I should know this one. I think it's 72. Equal to 12 times 6. Actually, doing that right. It's 6 generations in 6 months, so there's 6 times 6, 36. 36 divided by 12 is what I need to be doing. 36 months divided by 12, 3 years at the fastest. Now, say they take 8 months to sexually mature. You're going to have 8 times 6, 36 plus 12 is 48. 48 divided by 12 is 4. So they take 8 months to sexually mature and you get them spawned directly at 8 months. You're looking at 4 years. Say you're not the most experienced and it takes you a year every generation. 6 years. If it takes you a year every generation, you're doing something wrong. I'm not going to lie. This should be about 6 months sexual maturity, especially with the Jaguar and the convict genetics. So realistically, if you're able to grow them out, pair them out, and breed them as soon as they're sexually mature, you're looking at about 3 years. Now, I will say you're probably looking at 3 to 4 years, probably about 3.5. Just realistically, with your hiccups and everything with the project, this is 3.5 year project to get to this. Oh, 3 years is so long. 3 years is how long it takes for one female ball python to sexually mature. Just think about that. One ball python takes 3 years to sexually mature. And then you can breed it, and you get your first generation. So you get 1 generation after 3 years. Or you can get 6 generations after 3.5 years. Just giving you guys a actual thought process, because I feel like people hear year and they instantly poop out. So now let's go to the riskier one, right? The fast pass. And this one's going to be, you're going to want to, what are you going to do with this one? You're going to want space. This one you're going to have space for. This is not a, oh, I can have one tank, and this is a, you're going to have multiple pairs that you have to prove out. But this is technically faster. So let me go ahead and adjust this column. And then we're going to go to the fast pass gen. Fast pass. There's a give and a take with it because of the genetics. You said, I don't care about aligning it. I know this generation's 100% heterozygous. What am I going to do? I'm going to do F1 to Jag, because I don't want to have convict in there. So you do F1 X Jag. This now gives you F2. This F2 is 75, 25. This F2 is also 50% het. What does that mean? Every other baby will be heterozygous, which means you could pick one male and one female, breed them together, not produce any calicos. Which means that you kind of have to swap a couple females. You should probably have about 3 to 4 males and 3 to 4 females, and try to breed them. Because if you have 4 males and 4 females, theoretically, you should have two hets of each, right? In reality, you might end up only having 1 het of each, or 0 hets of each. So sometimes 5 or 6 is statistically a better number because you have a higher chance of getting that. Now, while you're doing this, obviously, let's say you have 5 pairs. You're going to want 5 fish tanks going on. 5 fish tanks for 5 pairs going on simultaneously. This gives you a decent chance to hit the het in one of those pairings. And you're like, how do I know if I hit it? As soon as those fry are free swimming, you should see some that are whiter or have chunks of white in them, or as they get like about this big, then you know that's a calico. Cull off the non-calicos, select that calico. So now you have, so obviously, I just went through that. You did F2 X F2, which is 50 het, 50 het. And after setting up 5 tanks, you got your F3 calico, which now allows you to do, which obviously F3 is going to be 75, 25. If you do hit the het, it will be this. Copy, paste. Let me just adjust these because I don't like it. All right. So now you have your F3 Calico. X jag it because you're trying to get to the jag as fast as possible. That's now going to give you F4. F4 is 87%. And they're 100% heterozygous. Which, if you're looking at this one, 6 generations, 4 generations. This one you could do F4 to F4. It's going to produce F5. F5 is going to be obviously 87.5% jag. Ooh, wrong button. It's going to be 12.5% con. And then paste. You get 25 calicos, 25% calico. So if you have 100 fry, 25 of them should be calico. And then if you do your F5, F5, calico to calico, you'll produce F6 that are 100% calico. And if you do F5 to F4, you do these again. Right? So you are now at Gen 5. You spent 5 generations to get to 87.5 versus 6 generations. What did that save you time-wise? 5 times 6 is 30. 30 divided by 12 equals 2.5 years versus 3 years. 5 times 8 is 45, I think. Am I wrong? I feel like it's 40, isn't it? I'm about to feel like a crack. I'm pretty sure it's 40. Equals 5 times 8 is 40. So equals 40 divided by 12. 3.3 years. So you're looking at 2.5 to 3.3 years for the fast pass. Obviously, the biggest struggle is going to be this generation, or this generation when you only have 50% heads and you have to have more space. And this was about a 3 to 4 year. This is about a 2 to 3.5 year, possibly longer if you're not the best at pairing. And then the long route, which if you're doing the long route, your brain's cooked. You're doing something wrong. If you're doing the long route, the only time you would ever do the long route is if you have, like, I don't know, your entire clutch died and you have one head left. But let's go through it. Let's kind of just do it because it's good information to know. If you know, I have F3 and all of them died, but I have visual F2. There's ways around that. We could fix that. Okay. The long route would be F1. Did I just reach uncharted territory? We're about to fix that. Okay, F1 X Calico. This produces F2. Sadly, this now produces 25, 75. Okay, we're back. My computer keeps freezing. I don't know why. I'm sure I'll have to edit the audio because of it. So now you have 25% jag, 75% convict, 50% cal, 50% normal, 100% het. Right. And then you do F2 cal X jag produces F3. F3 is now 62.5% jag and 37.5% convict. That's 100% het. You then do your F3 back to Calico. This now produces your F4. This now produces, what is it, like 31 point something percent jag, and if it's 31, that means it's going to be 69% convict. I'm not going to do the math for this, I'm sorry. And this is going to produce this. So that allows you to do F4 Calico, X jag, which produces your F5, which produces 50% jag plus about 15. So 65% jag, and then 69 gets divided by 2, so it'd be about 34.5% convict, and you'd produce 100% het. Now, I don't know if you're seeing this, but you're almost at the same generation as this, and you're barely above 50%. And this is constantly jumping back and forth, lowering the percentage of what you actually want by increasing the amount of calicos you get. If you see somebody doing this, correct them, because this is bull crap. And then, like, if you see somebody doing this, like, well, I've got F4 Calico Jaguars. That doesn't mean squat. Your Calico Jaguars are garbage at this generation. I would much rather take the F4 here, it's 87.5, or the F4 here that is like 75%, I think. This is terrible looping. But, and that's basically how it would look. And obviously you could swap Jag out for RTM or Freddy or Dovii or Texas Carpentis, Synegatus, Depi, Bartoni. For Vieja, I would suggest a Biffa base. I would suggest Bridori could be super hot. But obviously all of them are going to take that work because of it being on convict. You have to move it. Once it's moved, the fun begins. But I don't know if you could tell, but I kind of like Calico a lot more than Marble. If you happen to have any other questions, drop them, and I'll try to cover them in another video. But I feel like this was pretty in depth about Marble, what I would do, and Calico, what I would like to do. Which little birdie told me my friend got some Calicos, so I'm probably going to do a Calico project. Is it going to be Jaguar? Probably not. Sadly, as much as I would love to do the Calico Jaguar, it'll probably be something that stays ugly for a couple generations, just because of what I've got, and kind of I'm shooting for a size versus a specific look. So it's going to a base that'll be for about 2-3 generations, so about almost 2 years will be garbage. And then after that, it'll be the perfect base, whereas Con isn't, the perfect base. So if you're going to get on it and then tag me. I would love to do it. I would love to see it. And then, obviously, if you do it, I'm stealing some fry. I mean, anything. If you do Calico Bridori, Calico Hartwigii, Calico Gut, Calico RTM, honestly, would be pretty cool. Calico Jaguar, I'm definitely stealing. Calico Carpentis, I'll be stealing. Calico Deppy and Calico Cynogatus, I have a rough feeling about, so I would stay away from those. I probably wouldn't get any from them. But those other ones, I'd be interested for sure. But thanks for watching. Have a great day. Deuces.